Happy Tuesday. Welcome to another jam-packed episode of the Blunt Talk Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Wright, coming to you from the beautiful and now fall-like confines of Atlantic City, New Jersey. Wherever you may be watching or listening, I thank you as always. Like, share, and subscribe. It helps the channel. You can check the Blunt Talk Sports Podcast not only here on YouTube, but on Substack, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Patreon, Trovo, and as well as on Podbean. Happy to be here with you guys on this beautiful October 7th, 2025. We're going to recap the Week 5 games. I've already done the Eagles versus Broncos recap, so definitely don't forget to check that out. But I have the recap now for some of the games that I watched during Week 5. Clearly, it was a week of upsets. It was a week of games where it just either it was a blowout, statement win, or upset. So I'm definitely going to chronologize the ones that I watched. But before we go any further, definitely want to make sure that I give a shout out to several friends of the show. If you guys have been following for a while now, as you know, StubHub and Viagogo, the number 1 and 2 leading ticket resellers in the world for live events, shows, and concerts, currently friends of the show, and they have a shitload of promotions right now that are available. As you'll be able to see here on the screen from StubHub initially, there's a ton of events and things available, whether you're trying to get NFL tickets, MLB playoff tickets right now, while in the thick of things, while we're in the heat of the division races, WNBA tickets, if you're trying to get to the Ed Sheeran concert, whatever it is that you're looking for, I definitely implore you to check it out. Also, if you're looking in the UK for my Viagogo subscribers, litany of things, a plethora of different events going on right now in the UK going throughout the fall. Definitely make sure you make the most of your fall over there, guys. As I stated, number 1 and number 2 leading ticket resellers in the world, StubHub and Viagogo. And last but not least, for my avid gamers, check in the description box of this video. For my avid gamers, if you are a PlayStation gamer, there's a beautiful link in there to PlayStation Direct to help you to get accessories to content, games, controllers, whatever it is you need to immerse and enhance your PlayStation experience. I implore you to check it out. Sony PlayStation, more than a game. All right, guys. So hopping into this episode, going into Week 5 recap. A lot of things to digest. We're going to go a little bit more or less. Typically, I go from the games that I watch first to last. I was so impressed with the Monday night game that I'm going to go from that game back to the games from basically most popular to least popular, in my opinion, of the games that I viewed. Starting off in Jacksonville, we got Everbank Stadium in Jacksonville last night, Monday Night Football, Chiefs and Jags. What the fuck? I mean, like... Game, I mean, let's be honest. By the second quarter, we all thought Chiefs had this sold up. I know I did. I definitely did not think that the Jacksonville Jaguars would possibly come back. It was kind of eerie, too. It was a comment that Troy Aikman made mid-game. I want to say it was about middle of third quarter, where he stated that this is a different Jacksonville Jaguars team, and they have a different identity, and you can tell because Jaguars teams in the past would have collapsed in these situations. I tend to agree. I'm not sold on Trevor Lawrence. I still feel like there's a lot. It's funny. For the vitriol that Jalen Hurts receives, I feel like Trevor Lawrence should definitely receive that plus some. To be a number 1 draft pick, to not really have reached the heights that he should have reached already at this point in his career. Getting to the second round of the playoffs, some of it offensive coordinator, some of it head coaching issues, definitely front office issues, the former GM Trent Baalke. I digress. Keeping it strictly on the field, Trevor Lawrence has underperformed. It's become a situation where the Jaguars have been stunted because of this. And defensively, they fucking suck. I think that was being shown early on in the game, too. The run defense for Jacksonville was very porous. It was a situation where, you can see Mahomes gets down the field, gets an early touchdown to Travis Kelce, gets some points put on the board. You can tell that the Chiefs are starting to get their confidence back. Worthy's in the lineup. They were able to dink and dunk the ball down the field. Mahomes is making moves. Kelce's getting open. He's being tenacious after the run. Yards at the catch, so you can see the building blocks of the Chiefs' confidence going throughout the game. Had you under the impression, literally watching it, like, well, looks like the Chiefs are going to, get another solid victory and, put another notch in the belt. The run game was just giving Jacksonville fits. If you look at the stats of the running backs alone, I mean, again, you got another game with Patrick Mahomes as the leading rusher for Kansas City, which is just indicative of their situation so far this season. He had 6 attempts for 60 yards. He had a touchdown, obviously. Longest run was 15 yards. But then you had Kareem Hunt. He had a 33-yard run, 7 attempts, 49 yards. Isaiah Pacheco, 7 attempts, 36 yards. Longest run was 16 yards. So, again, Kareem Hunt getting in the end zone twice. Patrick Mahomes getting in the end zone. That was pretty much that's been the rushing game. Those three guys has been the rushing game essentially for Kansas City. Now, what was interesting tonight with Xavier Worthy being back, he did get a play on a nice little end around reverse where it looked like Patrick Mahomes might throw up or being in a spin cycle 3 times. But nonetheless, he got the ball to Xavier Worthy. It was a nice little like reverse end around play. And he got 9 yards off that. So it just became a situation where you saw Kansas City was definitely trying to run the ball. I mean, as a team, they had 22 attempts, 158 yards, 3 touchdowns. So again, definitely the rushing game was definitely working for Kansas City. The passing game, though, is definitely something that I wanted to highlight. You had Tyquan Thornton with 90 yards receiving. Kelsey had 61 yards and a touchdown, obviously. Marquise Brown, 48 yards. Worthy, 42 yards. And Smith, the young receiver Smith, he even had 32 yards. So you had it where everybody was kind of contributing in the pass game, which is kind of going to be the way, the style of play that the Chiefs are going to use to win going forward. So got to give that credit there. It just seemed like the Chiefs really had control of this game. Then you got a point where Jacksonville starts driving down the field. They get in a situation where, okay, they're going to get some points before halftime. And then, boom, Nick Bolton punches that fumble out. Yeah, I mean, and you can see it clear as day. The great camera angle, on the ESPN show, while they were broadcasting it, they were able to get a clear shot of what happened. Nick Bolton was just able to just punch the ball out right there that split second before Lawrence could cross over the goal line, which just essentially stunted the drive and stopped it. And then, like I said, Kansas City just started to use the running game, was punishing them. It just became a situation where, again, Jacksonville just didn't look good. Looked like they were going to be out of it. Looked like they had no fight. I mean, Trevor Lawrence had one play where he had the illegal forward pass where he was like 2 yards beyond the line of scrimmage. It's kind of weird. He has like this air about him where he seems like he doesn't care, but obviously he does care. Sometimes he just seems very fucking aloof and has very bonehead type of plays. Just inexplicably does dumb shit at times. So that being said, that was one of those moments, just again stalled another drive for the Jacksonville Jaguars. However, like I said, Mahomes scrambled, got in the end zone. They're up 14-0 Kansas City. You're thinking, again, ball game over. Jacksonville finally gets in the end zone with a Parker Washington touchdown. Now, this touchdown, I believe, doesn't even come until the third quarter. I have to check here the stats, but it was a struggle for Jacksonville most of the night to really get points. I mean, they literally, Parker Washington touchdown, yes. No, actually, that was the second quarter. My apologies. Yes, I'm looking here via NFL.com. Yes, so that was in the second quarter, that Parker Washington touchdown. Nonetheless, got the points right before halftime, so you're only down by a touchdown. Jacksonville then scores again. Trevor Lawrence is able to get in the end zone, fighting a good fight, gets the game tied up. Devin Lloyd with another crucial interception. Patrick Mahomes, another red zone interception, guys. Keep this on alert. You got Andrew McCooper week 2 again with the Philadelphia Eagles. Then you got Devin Lloyd running it back for a pick 6 last night. Something's going on there with the Chiefs in that red zone offense. It's inoperable right now. It doesn't seem like they're in sync at all. And essentially, Devin Lloyd just did what the fuck he needed to. I mean, amazing play. Ran it back 99 yards for a touchdown. Just like I said, outstanding play for Devin Lloyd. Outstanding play for the Jaguars completely. So that puts the Jags up. Now, where things get tricky is you're sitting here and you're watching it and you're like, okay, well, now all Jacksonville has to do is play a little bit of keep away, score again, and but we all know that Kansas City doesn't play like that. Heart of a champion, poised. They scored back-to-back touchdowns in a span of almost 7 minutes. You got touchdown to, it says here, Juju Smith-Schuster, like I said, but that was actually intercepted by Devin Lloyd. So like I said, that got ran back. That was a touchdown for the Jaguars. But again, you got a touchdown, follow that right back up. Pat Mahomes, gets a pass to Kelsey, Kareem Hunt breaks out. I mean, these guys aren't going to stop. It's a constant onslaught from the Chiefs. You're not going to get a game where it's just like, all right, we're going to just outscore them. It's rare. It's very rare, especially if you're at Jacksonville. You're not going to beat them like that. So it was very interesting to see how Jacksonville's game plan defensively was. They just seemed very out of sync defensively for most parts of the game, trying to attack the Chiefs. Then, of course, you get some field goals in there by Jacksonville. You get a field goal, in there by Jacksonville, makes it 24-21. Kansas City comes right back again, scores, another touchdown. You kind of felt like that was game. You just felt like, all right, Kareem Hunt scored. It's the Chiefs, man. This is what they do. But lo and behold, 13-play, 52-yard drive. Took a minute and 22 seconds. You got Trevor Lawrence driving down the field. Obviously, again, the craziest scramble ever, where he literally stumbled twice and then ran it in for a touchdown. Again, this was such an impactful statement win for the Jaguars. This is a win that a franchise can build off of. This is something that can build keep your season afloat, keep your confidence afloat. And I'm talking about afloat. Fuck, they're 4-1. They're 4-1 in the AFC South. And I mean, and you think about it, Indianapolis, I mean, really starting to shape out right now at the 5 games. And again, it's only 5 games. You got Indianapolis and Jacksonville at 4-1. Houston's at 2-3. Tennessee's at 1-4 in the basement, obviously. But you look at it right now, Jacksonville is playing some very serious football. They've won some great games early on, playing situational ball. It's helped them win a big game against Kansas City, especially at home, a win that they needed. Like I said, great win for the Jacksonville Jaguars. If you're Kansas City, you did everything really that you were supposed to win the game, but it just seems like to me defensively, this team is definitely a step back from what they were a year ago. I mean, whether it's pass rush, the coverages sometimes, it just seems like the Chiefs are not clicking defensively the way they need to a point where, Trevor Lawrence making the mistakes that he made, even having the interception that he had last night, it just put, again, the Jaguars in a situation. He kept them afloat. The defense kept them afloat, and they were able to pull out the victory. Amazing game. Great statement win by the Jaguars. And like I said, if you're the Chiefs, it's not the end of the world, but start paying attention to that AFC West. It's starting to get a little crowded out there. Denver obviously gets the big win against Philadelphia. They're 3-2. You got the Chargers that's 3-2. You're 2-3. Now, obviously, 2 teams lose a game, 3-3, you're tied, but they're still third place right now in the AFC West. So they're on the heels of the Chargers and Broncos, but we'll see how things play out. Again, it's only been 5 games, but hell of a start for both teams to the season. Going to the next game was actually the early game. The 9:30 game Sunday was a game in London between the Vikings and the Browns. I feel special. Yes, I feel special. And the reason why I feel special is because in my preview video, when I talked about this game, getting prepped for it early Sunday morning, wee hours of Sunday morning, I predicted the final score of 21-17, Vikings winning. That's exactly what happened, 21-17, Vikings winning. But this game was boring for parts, for stretches. It wasn't boring for the whole game. There was scoring throughout, but for some reason, it just, I don't know why. It just seems like it lost your attention for certain points, in that second and that third quarter. But be that as it may, it was still a great game. I have to commend what Kevin O'Connell has been able to do with the quarterbacks he's been handed. Whether in this iteration, whether it be Carson Wentz, whether it be Josh Dobbs, whether it be Kirk Cousins, whether it be McCarthy, he just seems to get the most out of the guys that he gets in that position. Carson Wentz had another solid game, 25 of 34, 236 yards, 1 touchdown. Now, he was sacked 3 times, but again, the Vikings offensive line has been battling with injuries as well. Definitely has not been a strong suit this season, like a lot of teams. But then again, got to give the Vikings a lot of credit. They ran the ball. They stuck with running the ball, and it wasn't a great day to run the ball. Jordan Mason had 52 yards rushing. Now, he had a touchdown. He did come out because of an injury at some point. There was really not much else of rushing outside of that. So you got to give the Vikings a shitload of credit. The passing game was essentially where it was at. Wentz was smart. He fed the beast. He fed Jetta. Justin Jefferson, 7 receptions, 123 yards. No touchdown, surprisingly, but again, was able to feed Jordan Addison, was able to feed T.J. Hockenson, was able to make sure that Naylor, Oliver, all these guys were touching the ball and being able to be influences and impacting the passing game in any way, shape, or form. Because make no mistake, I think he's been enough of a veteran now and realized that if you don't have all the guys incorporated within the offense, it is just going to bite you in the ass and it's going to cost you late when you need to depend on someone to get the ball to try to win the game. So, got to give Minnesota a shitload of credit there. Like I said, Wentz continues to play well. The offense looks faster with him at quarterback compared to McCarthy. I think that O'Connell is definitely going to have some questions that really ask himself if and when McCarthy comes back at this point. But to get on the Browns, because I think it'd be unfair to not talk about the Browns and that performance they put on. The Browns actually looked like a football team Sunday morning. I liked how Dylan Gabriel played. Wasn't great. He only threw for 190 yards, 33 attempts. But again, first game, you're going up against a Brian Flores defense. And as I stated in the preview video, Brian Flores, there's a reason why he's only lost, I believe, one game as a head coach, to rookie head coach or defensive coordinator to rookie quarterbacks. He fucking assaults them, and whether mentally or emotionally, you're not going to get loose and do whatever you want to do. Now, again, solid game, 19 to 33, 190 yards. He only had a completion percentage of 57%, so that's not great. However, he did have 2 touchdowns, a quarterback rating of 94, so got to give Dylan Gabriel all the credit in the world. First start going up against that defense and to show up the way he did, good performance. Now, the performance I really wanted to talk about that really excited me was Quinshon Judkins. Now, we all know that Quinshon Judkins has some legal issues going on. I reported on it throughout the summer here on the show. We all know that he has some things going on, a domestic violence situation playing out where, that basically inhibited him from signing his contract and being in a situation where he could play. That being said, he's kind of past it now. He's able to play. What a difference he made being on that field. 23 carries, 110 yards, no touchdowns, but averaged damn near 5 yards per carry. Longest run was 32 yards. Quinshon Judkins looks like the real deal. He looks like the Nick Chubb replacement. Because outside of him, you really didn't get much rushing the ball. So this guy looks like he could be the next thing. You got to get him in there. Glad that they were able to get that resolved and work that situation out because he is definitely going to be a threat for them offensively. And receiving-wise, if you're the Browns, outside of David Njoku, 6 for 67 and a touchdown, you really didn't get much out of the receiving core. And again, I think that's more or less reps. I think that's the way the defense schemed up. I think that's the way Brian Flores schemed up the defense to attack Dylan Gabriel. So there will be time. There will be moments where he'll be able to incorporate himself and ingratiate himself, better with the Jerry Judys and the Harold Fannins and, guys like that. But still, nonetheless, got to give the Browns credit for how they played. They played tough. They were in this game all the way through. I didn't think they were even going to be in it for much of it, but they definitely were. You go a little bit further, too, looking at it. They look better with Dylan Gabriel at quarterback compared to Joe Flacco. It seems like when Joe Flacco was in there, it just seemed like he, for a lack of better words, just seemed like he was old, no longer had it. Some guys, they age and they miss a step and things don't play out as well as they should, and boom, play just falls off a cliff. Joe Flacco, serviceable, been as serviceable as he could be, but I think after 2 years ago when he won that Comeback Player of the Year award, it was pretty much, a done deal then, but they're going to keep paying him. You definitely got to keep showing up. But again, good matchup. I liked what I saw. I think basically what it's going to come down to for the Browns, they got to get better offensively to continue to get better to help the defense because the defense did a lot to put this team in position to win the game. Offensively, they're limited, and because they're limited, it puts them in a situation where you're playing an offense like Minnesota, where they have a Jordan Addison who scores a game-winning touchdown, who got separation and made a play because you're so worried about Justin Jefferson or worried about Hockenson. Gabriel doesn't have that in Cleveland. He doesn't have any of that to worry about. So he's got to try to figure it out with him and Judkins and whatever, lineup they have. But ultimately, good game. Happy to see the outcome. Obviously, I predicted the outcome, so happy to see the outcome play out the way that it did. But nonetheless, like I said, awesome performance by the Vikings. And now the Vikings are 3-2, third in the NFC North, right behind the Packers and the Lions, of course. And the AFC North, Cleveland's in the basement. What can I tell you? 1-4. So a lot of ground to make up. They're not alone, though. Ravens with them. But a lot of ground to make up, a lot of things to go over. Not sure how that's going to play out, but we shall see. And last but not least, the last game I want to talk about over the weekend, this one was a fucking doozy. Dallas Cowboys versus New York Jets. Let me say this much to you so that way you have an idea of how bad it was. By the third quarter, the score was, and it says here, carry the one. It was 30-6 by the third quarter. So, needless to say, fucking dumpster fire of a performance again by the New York Jets. If you're the Dallas Cowboys, obviously ecstatic with the performance, went on the road, got a victory, especially against a team or a defense that really, really, really could test you or really do things to potentially put you in precarious situations. Got to give the Cowboys credit. Dak Prescott was 18 to 29, 237 yards. He had 4 touchdowns, and it was only sacked once. So he didn't have a great game, but completed the throws he needed to make. You look at the running game, Javonte Williams went off 16 attempts, 135 yards, 1 touchdown. I think playing this run defense is absolutely a recipe for, your rushing attack to really get going. It definitely was the case there. You even were able to get Dak Prescott running the ball a bit. He had 7 attempts for 28 yards. Now looking at the receiving core, no CeeDee Lamb, just George Pickens. So you know that a lot of coverage is going to be keyed in on Pickens and how he attacks. Got to give the Cowboys credit here. Wide receiver, I want to say, is Reggie Flournoy. 6 receptions, 114 yards on 9 targets. Definitely had a good game. Definitely looks like somebody they were hiding in a bunker, away to try to get situated to bring him out at some point. Got to give the Cowboys credit. He definitely looked good last night. George Pickens, 2 receptions, 57 yards, touchdown. Had an amazing reception in the end zone. I mean, again, the offense is not really the issue for the Dallas Cowboys. I think we all can agree the offense can score points. It's the defense that's really, truly the problem. You're looking here, you were able to get 5 sacks. 5 sacks is a defense. But, turnover battle, it just puts you in a situation where if you're Dallas, you were lucky that you were playing the Jets, because had you played a more competent team, defense might have got torched even more. But this is the recipe for the Dallas Cowboys to win. Like I said, they are the NFC version of the Cincinnati Bengals. They have to win these games like this, 37-22, 38-21. They have to win it and win it big, or win a shootout for their respect to be maintained and for them to have any credence or a leg to stand on in situations. So it's kind of weird, but got to give Dallas credit. They're doing exactly what they were supposed to. Like I said, if you're the Jets, you may have to think about a situation where, can we get rid of Justin Fields? 5 games, and I'll pull up the numbers, but he has not really looked like the guy that they were hoping for. He's still skittish in the pocket, and it's one of those things where you're like, all right, I get it. Most quarterbacks, you got a 300-pound fucking lineman breathing down your neck. Most guys aren't going to want to take that hit, but as elite and as fast as he is running the football, it's kind of scary that these things happen. But looking at it here on the season, right now, just as of right now, he's 0-4. He has 4 touchdowns, no interception. Let's see, completion percentage. He's not. Let me see right here. Completion percentage. Yeah, success rate of 50. It's just the quarterback rating is there. The efficiency is there, but when you start really going into the brass tacks, Justin Fields is playing like shit. There's no way really to escape it or get around it. Justin Fields is not the sole problem. The defense has really been a letdown. I'm not sure why that has really been a focal point as a failure, especially with Aaron Glenn's, staple is defense. Kind of crazy how all that's playing out, but there's got to be some things addressed for the Jets. You have not won a football game yet. We're now 5 weeks in. They have looked like dog shit. And for all the talent that I hear on their roster and how they have a good roster and they just need solid quarterback play, I would agree with that. That being said, this is not conducive to a guy keeping a starting quarterback position long term. Because Aaron Glenn is still the head coach. Aaron Glenn still has to worry about the roster. He may be given a pass for this year, but I can guarantee you going into next season, for the end of this year going into next, if Justin Fields continues to play like this, there's no one that's going to be able to sign him and legitimately say this guy's going to be our starter or challenging to start. All in all, from Aaron Glenn, I got some real serious decisions to make. And looking here, because I got to see when their bye week is, but if I'm Aaron Glenn, I really got to consider what is the move with this guy at quarterback. Now, their bye week's coming up at week 9, so give or take, got about 3 more games. We'll see how things play out. That's going to do it for this episode, guys. As always, I love you for plugging in. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Take care, and enjoy the rest of your Monday. Tuesday.